I imposed my culture even though I thought I was just being nice. So, I'm 23 and my parents came here from another country when I was little. They drilled it into my head that you always bring something when you visit someone's house. Doesn't matter if it's your best friend or some random person you barely know. You bring a gift. It's just what you do. My boyfriend Jake and I have been together for almost 4 years. We both work from home, so when his parents suggested we do weekly dinners at their place, I was totally down for it. I love his parents. They're super sweet and always make this amazing lasagna that's literally better than any restaurant. Every single week for like 3 months, I bring something small. A bottle of wine from the grocery store, some cookies from that bakery downtown, flowers from the farmer's market, nothing expensive. Just little things to say thanks for cooking for us. His mom would always smile and put whatever I brought on the kitchen counter. And his dad would give me this little nod like he appreciated it. Last Tuesday, I found these perfect daffodils at a store. His mom mentioned once that they reminded her of spring. So I grabbed a small bouquet for like $8. I was putting them in a little vase when Jake completely lost it. Why do you keep bringing stuff over every week like my parents or some charity case? He said, throwing his jacket on aggressively. I literally had no idea what he was talking about. What do you mean? I've always done this. Even when we go to your friends' houses, remember? That's when he really went off. Stop imposing your culture on everyone. It's weird because you're white anyway, so just stop. I felt like I'd been slapped. I handed him the flowers and told him to go to dinner without me. I needed to walk around the block like 5 times just to process what had just happened. When he got back 2 hours later, he still had the flowers. He set them on our coffee table and sat down with a serious look. Look, I'm sorry for snapping. But my parents are actually super annoyed with you constantly bringing stuff. They think you're treating them like they can't take care of themselves or something. Before I could even respond, my phone buzzed. Text from his dad. Hi, honey. Maybe it's best if you don't come to dinner anymore. Nothing personal. I stared at that message for like 10 minutes. These people who I thought loved having me over, who always seemed happy to see me, had been talking about me behind my back this whole time. Jake was sitting there waiting for me to apologize like I'd done something horrible. I was just trying to be polite. I finally said, well, it came across wrong. You need to call them and apologize if you want to fix this. But here's the thing. I wasn't sorry. Not really. I was raised to show gratitude when someone feeds you. My mom would have been mortified if I showed up to someone's house empty-handed. It's not about charity or thinking someone can't take care of themselves. It's about respect. The next few days were brutal. Jake barely talked to me unless it was to bring up the apology again. He'd make these little comments about how stubborn I was being, how I was choosing my weird cultural hang-ups over his family. Finally, I called his mom directly. Not to apologize, but to understand. I just want to know what I did wrong, I said when she picked up. There was this long pause. Well, it just felt like you thought we couldn't provide for ourselves. Like every week you had to supplement what we were giving you. That's not what I meant at all. I was thanking you for cooking. But we didn't ask for thanks. We invited you because we wanted to spend time with you. That's when it clicked. In their minds, bringing gifts meant I thought dinner wasn't enough. In my mind, not bringing something meant I didn't appreciate what they were doing. I understand now. I said, I'm sorry it came across that way. She softened a little. Maybe we can try again in a few weeks. But when I hung up, I felt empty. Jake was happy I'd called, but I couldn't shake the feeling that I just apologized for being myself. My parents had taught me to show gratitude, and somehow that had become this terrible thing. The weirdest part, Jake's comment about me being white. Like my cultural background doesn't count because of how I look. My parents struggled to fit in when they got here, and they taught me their ways of showing respect. That's not imposing anything on anyone. That's just who I am. We're back to having dinner with his parents now. But I don't bring anything anymore. I sit at their table and eat their food and say thank you. But every time I walk into their house now, something feels different. Like there's an invisible rulebook I didn't know existed. And suddenly I'm terrified of breaking it again. I smile. I chat. I compliment the food. But I keep my hands empty and my heart really guarded. The first dinner back, Jake's mom hugged me like nothing ever happened. But the hug felt a little stiff. Or maybe I imagined it. His dad asked about my job and everything sounded normal. But I caught him glancing at my hands as we came in, maybe checking if I brought anything. Maybe checking that I didn't. And Jake, I don't know. He acts like everything is resolved, like I learned a lesson he thinks I needed to learn. But I didn't learn anything. I just stopped doing something to avoid being shamed for it. One night after dinner on the drive home, Jake said casually, see? Everything's fine now. I just stared out the window. Because no, everything wasn't fine. Something broke in me the night he told me to stop imposing my culture. Something cracked again when his parents agreed silently behind my back. I realized that the people who claimed to love me didn't actually want all of me, just the parts. That didn't inconvenience them, and that hurt in a way I wasn't prepared for. A week later, my mom FaceTimed me while I was cooking. She saw the grocery store flowers I bought for myself and smiled. "Who brought you those?" she asked. "I did," I said. "For the house? Or for someone else's home?" "For me," she laughed a little. "Good. But don't forget, when someone invites you into their home, you show thanks. It's good manners." My throat tightened. I couldn't tell her that the thing she taught me, the thing she was proud of, had become something I was being pressured to hide. A few days later, Jake brought it up again. "My mom said dinner is at 6. And remember, just show up. Don't overthink it." I wanted to scream. I wasn't overthinking anything. I was trying not to offend people who seemed determined to be offended. At dinner, I watched his mom move around the kitchen, flipping garlic bread, dishing up pasta, humming to herself. I wanted to help. I wanted to bring something to show appreciation. I wanted to be myself. Instead, I sat there with my folded hands and a soft thank you, like some watered-down version of me. Later that night, Jake's mom pulled me aside and said softly, "I really am glad you're here." I nodded, but the words sat on the surface and didn't sink in. Because now there was always going to be that shadow of the text message telling me it was best if I didn't come anymore, a text I'll never forget. When we got home, Jake collapsed on the couch like the world was normal. "Want to watch something?" he asked. I looked at him. Really looked at him. This man I've been with for years. This man who didn't defend me. This man who treated my upbringing like an inconvenience. This man who expected me to apologize simply for being raised differently. And suddenly I wasn't sure if I could build a future with someone who needed me to shrink parts of myself to fit his comfort. I'm polite. I'm respectful. I'm thoughtful. Those are good things. But suddenly, with him, they become problems. I don't know what's going to happen next. I'm still in this relationship physically, but mentally, I feel like I'm halfway out the door. Because if the people who say they love you only love you when you're convenient, then they don't actually love you. They love the version of you that doesn't make them uncomfortable. And that's not who I want to be. Not for Jake, not for his parents, not for anyone. Story 2. I returned from my fishing trip and found my bedroom gone. My nephew's girlfriend smiled and said, "We're staying permanently." I stayed calm and replied, "You have 72 hours to leave." Her smile disappeared instantly. She never expected what happened next. Chapter 1. The Homecoming. The late summer rain had stopped by the time I pulled into my driveway, but the air still carried that cool Pacific damp that seeps into your bones. I just returned from a 3-week fishing trip off Haida Gwaii. 3 weeks of quiet, no phone service, no stress, no reminders of the life I'd built and the people I trusted. But the moment my tires touched the gravel, something felt off. A beat-up Honda I didn't recognize sat parked crooked in my spot. Its registration sticker faded. The lawn was ankle-high. Caroline's flower beds, the ones I'd tended every weekend since she passed, were littered with cigarette butts. My stomach sank. The front door wasn't locked. It wasn't even closed. The smell hit me first, a wall of stale beer, burnt food, and something sweet and chemical I couldn't place. I stepped inside slowly, like walking into a stranger's home. My living room, once clean and quiet, looked like the aftermath of a college party. Pizza boxes stacked high, beer cans on every flat surface. A massive TV mounted above the fireplace where Caroline's painting used to hang. My handmade bookshelf had been shoved into a corner. The kitchen was worse. Dishes piled in the sink, garbage overflowing, sticky floors. I could feel Caroline's disapproval in every step I took. Then I heard it. Laughter upstairs. Music thumping faintly through the ceiling. I climbed the staircase one step at a time. The creak of old wood echoing through what used to be my sanctuary. My bedroom door open. I stopped in the doorway and the world went still. My bed gone. The oak dresser Caroline's father built, pushed aside, buried under makeup and designer shopping bags. The walls, once a calm blue, were now a cold gray. Our wedding photo was nowhere to be seen. And there, lying across a king-size bed I'd never seen before, was Sienna's silk robe, phone in hand, legs crossed like she'd just finished a photo shoot. When she finally noticed me, she smiled. Not the kind that says I'm sorry. The kind that says I've already won. "Oh, Uncle Rob," she purred, stretching lazily. "You're back early. We weren't expecting you until tomorrow." For a long second, I couldn't speak, my throat locked. She sat up completely at ease. "What do you think? We upgraded everything." That old furniture was so dated, my voice came out flat. "Where's my bed?" She waved a manicured hand. "Oh, we donated that. And the dresser. Too bulky. This room gets the best light. And Marcus and I need space for our stuff. You understand." I heard footsteps behind me. My nephew Marcus appeared in the doorway, shoulders hunched, eyes avoiding mine. "Hey, Uncle Rob," he muttered. "Good trip." I stared at him, the boy I'd helped raise, the man who'd eaten at my table for years. "Marcus, what is this?" He shifted awkwardly. "We've been talking and this arrangement, it's working. You've got this big house, too much space for one person. We figured we'd take this room since it's the master, and you could use one of the smaller ones. It makes more sense." Sienna slipped off the bed and joined him, resting her hand on his arm like she owned him. "We're doing you a favor," she said sweetly. "This house is too big for you to maintain alone. We'll help with expenses. It's better for everyone if we just stay permanently." The word permanently echoed in my head. I felt something inside me harden. Not anger yet, but something colder. "Get out," I said quietly. Sienna laughed. Actually laughed. "Uncle Rob, don't be dramatic." I said, "Get out." The way Marcus flinched told me he'd never heard that tone from me before. "We're not going anywhere," Sienna replied, her smile fading into defiance. "We've been living here for 2 months. We've established residency. You can't just kick us out. We have rights, right?" She'd said it like a threat, like she'd rehearsed it. I looked at Marcus, my voice calm, but sharp as glass. "Is this what you want? To steal from your own family?" He hesitated. "It's not stealing, Uncle Rob, we're just being practical." That was when I knew this wasn't a misunderstanding. It was a plan. Without another word, I turned and walked out. I could hear Sienna whispering something smug behind me. As I stepped through the wreckage of my own living room, outside, the air was cold, clean, and I felt something I hadn't in a long time, clarity. They thought I was too old, too soft, too sentimental to fight back. They had no idea who they were dealing with. Chapter 2: The strangers in my house. I didn't sleep that night. I sat in the driver's seat of my truck outside a rundown roadside motel. The neon vacancy sign flickering like a pulse inside. The air smelled of disinfectant and old carpet. The hum of the mini fridge was the only sound. I should have been angry, and I was. But beneath that, there was something deeper: betrayal. It wasn't just the invasion of my home. It was realizing that Marcus, the boy I'd raised like my own son, had stood beside that woman and let her erase everything Caroline and I had built. Done. I made 3 phone calls. The first was to Tom Mackenzie, my lawyer of 40 years. Back when we were both young, I'd helped him rebuild a dock at the marina after a storm. He'd never forgotten that. I told him everything. The house, the repainted walls, Sienna's residency claim. He didn't interrupt. When I finished, there was a long pause. "Sully," he said finally, his voice even. "This isn't just disrespect. It's elder abuse on and squatting. We'll handle it legally. Don't go back there yet. I'll start paperwork for an emergency eviction. Make sure it's ironclad." I said they won't leave willingly. "You'll have a court date in 3 days. Let me handle this right." The second call was to James Chen, a retired CMP officer turned private investigator. He'd spent 30 years catching fraudsters who thought they were smarter than the system. "James," I said, "I need you to dig into someone named Sienna Reeves. 26, says she's from Surrey, lives with my nephew. I want everything: background, finances, anything that smells off." His tone shifted instantly. "You think she's done this before?" "I know she has. I'll have something for you by tomorrow," he said. "And Sully, keep your distance until we know who she really is." The third call was the hardest. To my daughter, Beth. She picked up on the second ring. "Dad, you okay?" "You sound they took the house, Beth," I said. "Marcus and his girlfriend." I stopped. Saying it out loud made it real. There was silence. Then the sound of movement on her end. "I'm booking a flight tonight." "You don't need to." "I do. Mom would have been on the first plane. I'm her daughter, remember?" When we hung up, I finally let the silence fill the room. The truth was simple. I'd been too trusting, too lonely to see what was right in front of me. That afternoon, I sat at the motel desk and began writing. Dates, conversations, every insult disguised as politeness. Every excuse they'd made. I listed the donated furniture, the repainting, Sienna's smirk when she said permanent. Each word on the page steadied me. At 8 p.m. my phone buzzed. James calling back faster than I'd expected. "You're going to want to hear this," he said. "I'm listening." "Sienna Reeves, 26, real name matches the ID she used with you, but her history isn't clean. 2 years ago, she moved in with a 78-year-old man in Burnaby, said she was his caregiver. 6 months later, she convinced him to add her name to his accounts. His daughter caught it, filed charges, but the old man refused to testify. Case dropped." My jaw tightened. "Go on." "Before that, she lived with a widow rower in Richmond. Same pattern. Moved in, isolated him from his family, drained his savings. His son kicked her out physically. No charges. The man was too embarrassed. And now she's found Marcus, I said quietly. She's done this before. Twice that we know of, James said. And your nephew? He's drowning in debt. 43,000 in credit cards and loans. They need your house to survive. When the call ended, I sat in the dim motel light, hands clasped. It all made sense now. Marcus wasn't leading. He was being led. And she was using him like a puppet to get to me. Beth arrived the next afternoon. She walked into the motel room, saw my face, and hugged me hard. We're fixing this, Dad, she said, fierce in a way that reminded me of her mother. That night, Tom called again, court set for Friday morning. I'll have them served tomorrow with an eviction notice and restraining order. Don't go near the property. Let the system work. So? I waited. I sat in that motel room with my notes, my evidence, and a calm so deep it scared even me. The next morning, at exactly 8 a.m., I parked down the street from my house with Beth. We watched as a process server in a brown jacket walked up the driveway and knocked. Marcus opened the door. I could see his posture collapse as the papers changed hands. Then Sienna appeared, snatched the envelope and read it. I saw the color drain from her face. For the first time since I walked into that ruined home, I allowed myself a small smile. Let her stew, Beth whispered beside me. She's not used to losing. No, I said. But she's about to learn what it feels like. Chapter 3, The Motel and the Strategy. The motel was quiet except for the sound of the rain tapping against the window. I sat at the small desk, a cup of stale coffee cooling beside a pile of legal papers and notes. The fluorescent light above me flickered like it was tired of the world. Beth was asleep in the next bed, her suitcase half open, laptop still glowing with open tabs about eviction laws and squatter rights. She'd flown across the country without a second thought, just like her mother would have. I'd always known she was strong, but that week she reminded me how deep that strength ran. At 7 a.m. I called Tom Mackenzie. They were served yesterday, I said. How long until it sticks? He sighed the way only a lawyer who's seen too much of human greed can. They've got 72 hours to vacate, Sully. But be prepared. They'll try something. People like her don't walk away quietly. She thinks she's clever, I said. But she doesn't know the kind of patience a man builds from 30 years working the docks. Tom chuckled softly. That patience is about to pay off. The hearing's tomorrow morning. We'll let the judge see what kind of game they're playing. When I hung up, I started my morning ritual. One notebook for facts, one for tactics. I wasn't just fighting for a house. I was fighting for every old man or woman who'd been taken advantage of, because someone mistook kindness for weakness. By noon, James Chen arrived at the motel. The man still carried himself like a cop. Sharp eyes, trench coat, calm voice that made people tell the truth without realizing it. He laid out a folder thick with documents. You were right, he said, pulling out photographs. She's done this before. Twice confirmed. The first one was in Burnaby. She called herself a caregiver. The second in Richmond. She moved in with a widower, isolated him. Almost got his will changed. Same pattern every time. He handed me a printed screenshot from her social media. Sienna, posing on my porch, captioned, Our forever home. New chapter begins. Beth leaned over my shoulder and whispered. She posted that while sitting in Mom's chair. James continued. Your nephew's deeper in this than I thought. He's got over $40,000 in debt. Late payments, loans, and a line of credit maxed out 3 times. He's desperate and she's steering the wheel. I closed the folder, exhaling slowly. So, this isn't about family anymore. This is about a con artist using my nephew as cover. Beth looked up from her laptop. Then we treat it like what it is. Organized fraud. Tom called again at 6 p.m. I submitted the photos, the social media posts, the previous police records James found. It's strong, Sully, stronger than most cases we see. Good, I said. I'm not just getting my house back. I want her name on record. The next old man she tries this with deserves a warning. That night, I went over every piece of evidence again. The photographs, the copies of the donation received from my bed, the note Marcus had left saying, We'll make this place ours. I read it twice, then folded it neatly into my notebook. Beth stirred in her sleep. The motel room glowed faintly in the neon light outside. I thought about Caroline. What she'd say if she could see me now. She'd probably tell me to take a breath, to fight smart, not angry. I poured another cup of coffee and opened the notebook to a fresh page. At the top, I wrote 3 words, calm, patient, ruthless. Because that's exactly what the next 48 hours required. Tomorrow, I wasn't walking into a courtroom as an old man defending his house. I was walking in as a man who'd built it, and I was taking it back. Chapter 4. The 72-hour ultimatum. Friday morning, the courthouse smelled faintly of coffee and rain. The floors gleamed like mirrors and the fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. I wore the same navy suit I'd worn to Caroline's funeral. It still fit, though it felt heavier somehow. Beth straightened my tie and whispered, "You've got this, Dad." Across the aisle, Marcus sat slouched in a chair beside Sienna, who had traded her silk robes for a gray dress and a fake look of innocence. Their lawyer, some smug young man with slicked back hair, kept whispering into her like this was just another case file. But Sienna's eyes found mine, and that calm, cold smile returned. The same one she'd worn the day I walked into my own bedroom and found her lying in my bed. Not this time. When the clerk called her case, Tom Mackenzie rose with quiet confidence, "Your Honor." He began, "This is not a tenant dispute. This is a clear case of unlawful occupation and property destruction compounded by prior history of elder exploitation." He laid out everything methodically, photographs of the trashed living room, the repainted walls, the missing furniture. He handed over James Chen's investigative report, complete with Sienna's social media posts calling my house our forever home and screenshots of her past cases. Then he said, "Your Honor, Miss Reeves has a pattern targeting older property owners under the guise of caregiving or family ties. We have police records from Burnaby and Richmond showing nearly identical behavior." The judge, a woman in her 50s with sharp eyes and no patience for games, leaned forward. "Miss Reeves, are these reports accurate?" Sienna's mask cracked. "Those were misunderstandings. I was helping answer the question," the judge said firmly. Sienna hesitated. "I never did anything illegal." The judge raised an eyebrow. "That's not what I asked." You could feel the air shift. The lawyer tried to object, but Tom was relentless. "Your Honor, they've caused material damage to Murdoch Sullivan's single quotes as property, and attempted to assert residency without any rental agreement, payments, or authorization. This is a calculated attempt to claim control of an asset that doesn't belong to them." When it was the defense's turn, their lawyer stammered through some nonsense about implied permission and family misunderstanding. He tried painting me as forgetful, even implying I'd offered them the master bedroom to make them comfortable. The judge cut him off mid-sentence. "Do you have a written agreement or proof of rent payments?" "No, Your Honor." "But then you have no standing." It was over before it even began. The judge signed the order right there. Eviction granted, 72 hours to vacate. Sheriff enforcement authorized if they failed to comply. All damage and missing property subject to civil claim. Sienna sat frozen, color draining from her face. Marcus stared at the floor, shoulders trembling. When we walked out of the courtroom, Beth slipped her hand into mine. "You did it, Dad." "No," I said quietly. "We did." 3 hours later, we stood parked down the street, watching as the sheriff's office posted the eviction notice on my front door. Through the window, Sienna's fury was visible even from a distance, pacing, yelling, throwing things into suitcases. Marcus trailed behind her like a shadow. At 11:59 a.m. on the third day, a moving truck pulled away. Sienna was in the passenger seat, sunglasses on, jaw tight. Marcus gave the house one last look before getting in. Beth exhaled. "That's it. They're gone." "Not yet," I said. "They'll try one more thing. People like her always do." Sure enough. That evening, my phone buzzed, a text from Marcus. "Uncle Rob, I'm sorry. I didn't know what she was planning. Please don't press charges. I'll fix everything." I typed back one line. "You had 72 hours to do the right thing. You chose her." Then I turned off my phone. The next morning, Beth and I returned to the house. The door was unlocked. The air smelled faintly of bleach and perfume, the kind of fake cleanliness that can't hide the damage. The place was wrecked, holes in the walls, broken dishes, my workshop tools missing. The bed I'd once built for Caroline gone, replaced by empty floorboards. But eyes welled with tears. "Dad," I put a hand on her shoulder, "it's just wood and paint. The house can be fixed." She looked at me surprised. "You're really calm." I smiled faintly because this time the storm hit, and I was ready for it. Outside, the wind picked up off the inlet, cold, clean, full of salt. I looked up at the sky and felt something loosen in my chest. The fight wasn't over, but I'd already won where it mattered most. They thought I'd crumble. Instead, I reminded them of a lesson they'd forgotten: never mistake kindness for weakness. Final chapter, the aftermath and the lesson. The next morning, sunlight poured through the broken blinds like nothing had happened, as if the house itself was trying to breathe again. After months of suffocation, Beth was in the kitchen, sleeves rolled up, scrubbing the counters. "We'll need to repaint," she said, her voice tight with anger. "They ruined everything." I leaned against the doorway, holding 2 cups of coffee. "Not everything," I said, handing her one. "They didn't ruin the memories." We worked in silence for a while, her scrubbing, me fixing the loose cabinet hinges. Both of us moving through the wreckage, like archaeologists uncovering the life that had been buried under someone else's greed. By noon, the locksmith arrived, new locks, new codes, new start. When he left, I stood at the doorway and turned the key. That small click, that sound of finality felt better than any courtroom victory. That evening, as the sun dipped behind the mountains, Tom Mackenzie stopped by. He handed me a folder of documents, the final eviction order, the repair claim, and the restraining order now permanently filed against Sienna Reeves. She won't be back, he said, a satisfied grin tugging at his mouth. She's already on to her next target. But this time she won't get far. Her record will follow her. I nodded. Good. Maybe that'll save someone else from what she's done. Tom paused, studying me. You know, Sully, most men your age would have rolled over. Let them stay. Tried to keep the peace. Then most men my age need to remember, I said quietly. Peace isn't worth keeping if it costs your dignity. After Tom left, Beth found me sitting on the porch, staring out at the harbor, where the evening tide rolled in. The gulls called. The water shimmered gold, and for the first time in months, my home felt mine again. Mom would be proud, she said softly. I smiled. She always did like a good ending. The following week, I began to repair what couldn't be replaced. The emotional kind of damage that seeps into a man's bones. I repainted my bedroom the same soft blue Caroline had loved. I rehung our wedding photo, found halfway buried in the garage. I even planted new roses in her garden. The same shade of pink she used to insist made the whole yard look like forgiveness. Life started to feel ordinary again, quiet, steady, mine. Then one night around 1000 p.m. my phone buzzed. Unknown number. Marcus, Uncle Rob, it's me. I left Sienna. I moved out. I don't expect you to forgive me, but I wanted you to know I'm working again, paying off my debts. I just wanted to say thank you for everything you did. Even when I didn't deserve it, I sat there rereading the message under the warm porch light. For a moment, I saw the kid he used to be, the one who helped me fix the dog, who'd laugh until his stomach hurt, who once promised he'd make me proud. I typed back one line. Keep going and remember what I told you. Family isn't what you say. It's what you do. Then I set the phone down and looked out at the quiet harbor. The waves rolled in, soft and endless. The air smelled like salt and pine. My house creaked gently, the old wood settling as if exhaling after holding its breath too long. They tried to take everything from me, my home, my peace, my faith and family. But what they didn't understand is that some men aren't built to break.